Hi everybody. For those of you that do not know me, I am Andrea Nichols, the owner of Pilates Cure here in Fort Mill, South Carolina. And if you do know me, then you know I love working the foot and ankle. I think it's so important. So today I'm going to share with you a few of my favorite exercises that you can do for your feet and your ankles, and you can do them anywhere. All you need is just by rolling out our feet. So I'm going to put the ball on the floor, and I'm just going to start rolling the ball back and forth. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time here. You're just going to kind of go from one side of the foot to the other, just gently pressing down onto the ball. If you want more tension, instead of staying seated, you could always stand, and that's going to give you a little bit more tension. And once I've done a few passes back and forth, I'm going to then start to go back and side to side. And I'm going to start at the heel, and I'm just going to work my way up the foot, just making little small passes side to side. And I'm going to go all the way up to the foot, and then even all the way under the toes. And again, standing is going to make this a little bit more intense than staying seated. And then I'm going to work my way all the way back down towards the heel. And then I'm going to take and put the ball right in the center of my foot, and I'm going to start making circles, just kind of small circles right up underneath the arch. And then I'm going to start rolling up a little closer to the metatarsals or the balls of the toes. And then I'm going to circle my way back to the arch. And then I'll travel down towards the heel. And I just want you to make a mental note if anything feels tight or uncomfortable, kind of where that is. And then whatever circles, whatever direction I was circling, I want you to reverse that direction and just kind of make those little circles around the arches of the feet, around the metatarsals, and then down around the heel. And then I want you to take the ball, and we're going to put it right up underneath the metatarsal of the big toe. And we're just going to kind of lean into it a little bit, and then move it over to the next toe, lean into it a little bit. And we're going to go through all 5 toes like this. Again, if you were standing, this would be much more intense than what it is right now with me remaining seated. Then I'm going to work my way back towards the big toe. So basically we will go through each toe twice. And then I'm going to go down towards the arch, and I'm going to put it right on the inside of the arch, right below the metatarsals. And I'm going to do the same thing, just kind of lean into it. And then I'm going to roll it over a little bit and just keep putting pressure on and off. Generally, it's not the most comfortable through the arch. So again, if something doesn't feel good, back the pressure off. For me, it's the inside of the arch. And then I just kind of go down a little bit towards the bottom side and just keep pushing on and off, pressure on and off. And then I'm going to go right into the center of the heel and do the same thing. Just kind of hitting a pressure point in the foot. And once I've completed that foot, I'm going to roll the ball over to the other foot, and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to do this when standing, just to show you the difference here. So I'm going to start towards the inside of the foot and just roll up and down, all the way from the toes towards the heel. Going from the inside of the foot to the outside of the foot, and then I'll start making my way back towards the inside of the foot again, and then I will go side to side and just kind of working across the foot back and forth as I work my way up in to the metatarsals, and then even underneath the toes. And you can really kind of see it move the toes individually, and then start working the way back down again. The more you lean onto it, the more pressure that's applied, the deeper the ball goes. And also I find the smaller the ball, the deeper the ball goes, And then the harder the ball, the deeper the ball goes. So if you don't like the first ball you try this with, you certainly can try a different ball the next time you do it. And then we're going to start with little circles down around towards the heel, and just make a circular motion, traveling up the foot towards the metatarsals, up into the toes, and then reverse the circle to travel back down. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. And then we're going to take the ball and we're going to place it at the metatarsal of the big toe and just kind of lean on it, and then off, go to the next toe. And we're going to travel through all 5 metatarsals, pressure on, pressure off. And once we get to the pinky toe, we'll do the pinky toe twice, and then we'll start to travel back towards the big toe. And then once we get done with the metatarsals, we'll roll down right underneath the metatarsal, right towards the top of the arch, starting at the inside of the foot and just kind of slowly progressing to the outside of the foot, and then back towards the inside of the foot. And if you find something that feels really kind of gnarly in there, I'm gonna roll down a little bit and go again. You can push on it more than once. You don't have to just do one and done. You can kind of spend a little bit of time on the spot that feels uncomfortable, but you don't want to overwork it. We don't want you to be really sore afterwards. And then I'm going to move down a little bit more towards the bottom of my arch, right above the heel. And I'm just kind of working my way from the inside of the foot to the outside of the foot. And then back again to the inside of the foot. And then I'm going to go right in the heel, right to the center of the heel. And that's where I'm going to start with a little pressure on, pressure off. And maybe I'll move it around just a little bit. See what I find, if anything, in the heel. And then we are actually done with this ball, but already you can feel a difference in the feet. So for this next part, I'm just going to have you sit on the earth. I find it's the easiest if we go all the way down to the floor. And we're going to do a movement where we're just sitting as tall as we can. And I've turned a little bit of an angle from you. But we're going to sit as tall as we can. And I want you to think about keeping the feet really flexed. So you often hear me say in class, if you take classes with me, I want the blade of your pinky toe back. So what that means is this outer edge of your foot is pulling back, and you might feel that translate all the way up in your hips. But if I put my foot right up next to a wall, all 10 metatarsals would be evenly touching the wall. And a lot of times we will see this, where we kind of start to fold in, or we sickle at the ankle. So really think about drawing the blades of the pinky toes back, and all 10 metatarsals are nice and level. So if I put a ruler or level across all 10 balls of the toes, it would be nice and connected. Sitting up as tall as you can with even feet, we're gonna point from the ankle and then dorsiflex from the ankle. And we're gonna do 5 of these. And when we pull the top of the foot back, I want you to really think of pushing out of the heel. And we're gonna do 3 more, not over pointing the toes, but really focusing on moving from the ankle joint. This will be our last one with just the ankle joint moving. And we're gonna break the feet down a little bit. I want you to really pull the toes back towards you as you take the arch forward, and then take the toes forward. Bring the toes back, even those pinky toes, and then the whole arch comes back. The arch goes forward, the toes go forward, the toes come back, and the arches come back. We're gonna do that 2 more times. And right here is a really great stretch. Make sure you're still level across the metatarsals, and then the toes go forward. The toes come back as the arches continue to reach, and then really push out of the heel as you come all the way back. Last one, arches go forward, and then toes go forward. Toes come back, even those pinky toes, and then we flex all the way back. I'm gonna have you open the feet about the distance of your mat if you're sitting on a mat, or just wider than your hips if you are not on a mat. And we're gonna start by really taking note of our bony landmarks. So right now, our thigh bone, our femur, knee bone, also known as the patella, and our shin bone, also known as the tibia, are straight to the ceiling along with our toes. Our toes are reaching straight up to the ceiling. Keeping your hands to your hips, I want you to think of dialing everything in so it can look at each other, and then go back to parallel, and then dial everything out looking away from each other. And it's really hard to not let the ankle joint move. We have to focus on not necessarily moving from the ankle or the knee, but moving all the way from the head of the femur. And our knee joint and our ankle joint is just along for the ride. So even though we're watching our foot placement move, it's initiating from all the way at the hip joint. Now, once we have a good grasp on that, we're gonna add on. So I'm gonna internally rotate, and then I'm just gonna point the ankle, and then I'm gonna externally rotate, and then flex the foot. Internally rotate as far as I can from the hip joint, and then point, not changing the angle of the ankle, externally rotate, and flex. Last one, internally rotate, point, externally rotate, and flex. Come back to parallel, and we're gonna reverse. Checking our foot alignment before we start. Externally rotate, and we point, internally rotate, and flex. Last two, externally rotate and point, internally rotate and flex. Last one, really still pushing out of the heels as we're in that flexed position. And then come all the way back in. Now from here, we're gonna work on a little bit of manipulation of the toes individually, as well as that ankle joint. So I want you to start by just crossing your left leg over your right leg. You could easily do this sitting in a chair or resting on the floor. And you're gonna take your 3 fingers on top of your thumb, and your little pinky is just up in the air. You're gonna grab your big toe and kind of hold on to it. And then you're gonna place your other hand onto the foot to kind of secure that as well. With a gentle pull, you're gonna open those metatarsal joints, and we're just gonna rotate like you're trying to unscrew a light bulb. And then after a few rotations, we'll let it go. And we'll go to the next toe and gently pull and open up your toe joints. And then just a few rotations back and forth. And then let that toe go. And we're just gonna make our way through all 5 toes. And your left hand holding on to your foot just keeps your foot in place. It provides the resistance you need to really elongate the toe. And you can kind of feel the tendons and some of the bones moving underneath your left hand. So that's kind of neat feedback to feel. And if you really pay attention, you might even can feel it going up the shin. So once we have done all 5 toes on this foot, I'm just gonna take and gently push all 5 toes back. And then I'm gonna let them go, and I'm gonna gently push all 5 toes forward. And then I'm gonna let them go. I'm gonna place that foot flat to the floor, and I just wanna see if I can pick all 5 toes up and then place all 5 toes down. And I'm gonna do that 3 times. And then I'm gonna try to do each toe individually. So I just gently place my fingers over the toes I don't wanna move and pick up just my big toe. That one's easy enough. And then it gets tricky, and this is where I have to have my hand over my foot. But I'm gonna try my best to move all the other toes individually, which is really hard, especially the closer I get to the pinky toe, it gets increasingly hard to move each toe individually. So I'm gonna go through all of the toes, and then I'm gonna take my opposite hand to my foot. So I'm still on my left foot, I'm gonna use my right hand, and I'm gonna interlace between my fingers as if I'm trying to hold hands with my foot. I'm gonna hold my other hand up above that ankle joint, and I'm just gonna shake my own foot back and forth. So it is my right hand moving my ankle, not my ankle joint itself. So I'm just kind of passively moving that ankle joint. And then I'm gonna go up and down a little bit. And then I'm gonna take that into some circles, one direction, and then circles the other direction. And now, believe it or not, everything's a little looser. You should be able to slide your hands in a little deeper and get a little tighter hold with your foot. And I'm just gonna repeat the same thing, like you're shaking your foot no, and then like you're shaking your foot yes, and then little circles one direction, and then little circles the other direction. And then see if you can go in any deeper, and we're gonna do that one final time. So we go back and forth, we go up and down, and then little circles in each direction. Good. Now I'm gonna have you switch to the other leg. So we're gonna start by crossing the ankle over, and we're gonna do our little toe rotation. So I'm holding my foot around, thumb on the arch, fingers over the top of the foot, just gently. I'm not squeezing it or anything. I've got my three fingers on top, thumb on the bottom, and I'm gonna gently pull the toe joint out, and then a few little turns left and right, going through all 10 toes. And I don't want you to pull like you're trying to rip your toe off, but just enough to elongate the toe. You will feel what I'm talking about when you try it. Like you will feel those joints in the foot stretch. Then you might even feel it all the way up the feet. It actually feels really good. And then once we have made it through all 5 toes on this foot, I'm gonna gently hold on to all 10 toes and push them back. So for those of you that do any reformer work with me, it's very reminiscent of how we flex the toes and how we extend the toes in our reformer work. So then we just go the other direction, and it's gentle. I'm not pushing hard, just enough to kind of open the metatarsal heads. So once I've done that, I'm gonna place my foot to the floor, and I'm gonna see if I can pick up all 5 toes on this foot and then place it down. Same thing as last foot. My pinky toe is definitely not as agreeable as some of my other toes. So I've done that 3 times. I'm gonna work through each toe individually, picking up just single toe, using my fingers to help secure the toes that I don't wanna move, because they wanna move and lift in groups. One foot is usually easier than the other. My right foot is a little bit better than my left, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And once I get through all 10 toes lifting and lowering, I'm gonna hold hands with my right foot. So I'm holding right above the ankle joint with my right hand. My opposite hand, my left hand, is gonna thread through the toes. And then I'm just gonna hold on, and just by the power of my hand, not by the power of my foot or my leg, anything on that right side, I'm moving the foot back and forth. And then I'm gonna go up and down, and then little circles. And I'm really trying to relax and let my hand do all the work. My foot's really just trying to hang out, and then reverse. Sometimes it's hard to fight that movement. Sometimes it's hard not to tense up. And then once I've done that, I'm gonna see if I can slide my hands in any lower, and I'm gonna repeat it again. Just back and forth, and then up and down, and then little circles one direction, and little circles the other direction. And once I've done that, I'm gonna do it one more time. I'm gonna try to slide my fingers in a little bit more, and then back and forth. Like you're shaking your foot no, and then up and down. Like you're shaking your foot yes. I find that one the hardest. And then tiny little circles. And then circles in the other direction. And then we'll just kind of see how our feet feel. My feet already feel looser up into my shins, already feel a lot looser. And I'm gonna sit up nice and tall in that dorsiflexed position again. And I'm gonna see if I can separate all 10 toes, fan the toes out without my legs externally rotating. So I'm staying in a parallel with my thigh bones, my knee bones, my shin bones. I'm just simply trying to fan my toes apart and then relax. You can clearly see, which is my problem foot, and we fan the toes apart, and then we relax. And I like to kind of go in the opposite position on my relax there. One more time, staying in that dorsiflexed position. Fan the toes apart. And then relax. So that's just a few of my favorite exercises that you can do for your feet. It also translates all the way up into hips, and it feels really good when you're done. You can do it anywhere. If you're not driving and you're a passenger or you're traveling on a plane, you could do some of those while you're traveling. You could do them while you're on a conference call or watching TV, reading a book in the evenings. We just want to promote movement and blood flow into our feet. We want to become really aware of that alignment and that relationship between the foot and the hip, and all of what we just did is going to encourage that. So if you'd like to know some more movements that you could do at home for your feet or your hips, please let us know, comment below, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for watching.